Good evening, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. I hope you guys are doing well. Well, today has turned into a very active weather situation, especially over towards the Gulf Coast states of Louisiana and Mississippi, where we have ongoing tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings right now. No radar confirmed or spotter confirmation of tornadoes on the ground at this time, but of course, we'll have to keep an eye on this as this is still a developing situation. Number of severe thunderstorm warnings in effect as well. Mostly going to be for 60 mile per hour damaging winds. A couple of these even have a little bit of hail. There was a marginal risk for hail today. But that's what we have going right now. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at some of these cells here real quick before we go into the next phase here. I was also interested in possibly live streaming, but I got home a little too late today. So things didn't quite go right. But from what I can see here, in this line of strong to severe thunderstorms, looks like we do have a few embedded supercells. The trend that I'm noticing with this seems to more so be on the southern sector, and maybe a couple of these even being a little bit prefrontal. Like say this is like a complex of storms right here. This out ahead of the line, you would consider this prefrontal, and then towards the southern flank of that storm, where we're able to get a little bit more warm air inflow into that storm, we could maybe see a few more spin ups. I think by the time you get to this main line, which is probably about here, that's going to be where the cold front is, and we'll start to see that severe threat diminish as we go on through the night. We even try to go back towards the radar, leaning more so towards central and maybe western Louisiana. Their storms are already done for the night. So Alexandria, you're almost out of there. Eunice, you're almost out of there as well. But Baton Rouge, the main line, is going to be knocking on your doorstep here within the next 30 minutes or so, maybe even sooner. But outside of the tornado warnings, nothing major going on at this time. So we'll go ahead and discuss what we could be expecting as we get into the overnight hours. I think from this point, honestly, the threat will diminish. We're also going to take a quick peek and see if there's any sort of wind reports to be had here. I'm thinking it's mostly going to be flooding the further north we go. And beyond that, as we go further and further to the east here, maybe we'll see one of these regions over here popping up with severe activity. But albeit the threat for this is more so on the marginal side. Let's shift over here. We're going to look at the composite reflectivity, get an idea of what those storm modes look like. Not too much. I wouldn't expect too much to really change here. There's increased activity over here. That's partially what the storms that we're seeing now is looking like, as this update is a little bit behind schedule. HRRR is coming in now, so it's going to be a minute before that's done. But we'll see these storms progressing further and further eastward as we get into the evening hours. And by this point, daytime heating's gone. These storms will start to lose a lot of their intensity and mostly be heavy rainmakers. Towards the south, I still would expect a potentially severe storm with damaging winds. Maybe offshore, we could potentially see a spin up. But by that point, we're not going to really be expecting too much out of that. We head into the morning hours tomorrow. We can see that this line's thoroughly falling apart here. You can see a few showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder over towards central Alabama. And we do try to maybe see a point of resurgence right around this region as this starts to clear up a bit. But I'm not too sold on it. If anything, I'm leaning more so towards the panhandle of Florida being more active. But of course, that's when we're looking at the end of this run too. So we may touch up on this as we look more so towards the wintry side of things, because there is still a winter setup with this as well. So as we look at the temperatures really quickly, and this is a little bit further out of date because we're still waiting on the latest NAM 3 kilometer to come in. It's about our current time right now. You can almost see you can actually see where this cold front is exactly. This is what we're looking at current time. Western Louisiana has gone through the cold front here, and now we'll be starting to see Mississippi as we get into the overnight hours. A lot of those temperatures start to diminish as we get into the overnight hours, of course, due to lack of daytime heating. But it's over towards this section where we're going to be watching for the development of wintry weather. That low is currently having a little bit of trouble drawing in on that cold air, and there's not much moisture being pulled in on the backside of it, which is where most of our snow is going to be set up here. But what ends up happening as we head into the afternoon hours, as this moves further and further north, we finally start to get some cold air starting to circulate on the western side of it, and we could see a heavy snow band that's possible as we get into the overnight, as we get into the evening hours of Thursday, and into the overnight. Really, it could start as early as late tonight and into the overnight, but a lot of that's going to depend on a couple of things. Mainly going to be when will we start to get that moisture funneling in on the backside of this. You can see by 10Z here, which is probably about, I'd say, 3-4 o'clock in the morning. Maybe a little bit of snow could be possible around Oklahoma City. And then we'll watch this storm system circulate further and further to the north here. Now, where I'm expecting the greatest potential for some snow is probably going to be right amongst this pocket right here. Right about here is where I'm going to probably expect the highest amount of snow possible. But even so, it's a little bit of a shot in the dark here because the models have been showing a lot of variance over the last few days as to what's there to expect. And then as we look towards Friday, we might have to watch towards the northeast for a couple of scattered snow showers. Maybe a pretty significant snow band, but for the most part, it's going to be pretty tame. Then on the backside here, we will have to watch for an additional system to pop up and maybe start to bring some additional snow towards some areas that are a little bit further to the south, maybe Oklahoma and Arkansas. And this is what we'll be looking at staring at as we stare down into the weekend. Of course, we'll get into that more so tomorrow on Friday. Now let's go ahead and actually take a look at what the precip could look like as of right now. There's still a lot of room for changes, so we'll just have to play this by ear and see how things go here. With such a variable forecast, it's going to be tricky to nail it down this far out. So here is our current situation right now. A few line segments of storms going through. And as we head into, I would say, maybe 10, 11 o'clock, that's when these pockets of snow start to develop as we start to get that interaction between the cold air and the little bit of moisture that's available here. Moisture doesn't really seem to kick in more so until we get towards maybe northern Missouri, and this is heading towards about maybe 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning for you guys, and then we'll watch this start to turn into a pretty considerable snow band as we get closer towards, I would say, eastern Iowa and then southern Wisconsin. UP of Michigan looks like you're in there as well. This is a pretty quick moving system too, though, so it's not like we're going to have a heavy snow band that materializes and lingers. So this could limit the totals, but we'll have to see how things play out. But the next thing that I want you to avert your attention to is this little bit of energy right here, this little piece of moisture that pops up here. This is heading into about 9 o'clock on Friday. See a nice little border of rain and snow that develops here. Goes right over Oklahoma City. And this is all in association with a low that's going to bring more and more showers across the southeast. And look what starts to happen as we head into the afternoon hours on Friday. You could see a few scattered pockets of snow showers across parts of Arkansas. And this cold air does try to make a pretty big advance to the south. So maybe Mississippi, by the weekend, we could see some snow flurries. Maybe even Alabama. Tennessee, can't rule you out either. All of this will depend on how much leftover moisture will be lingering around the time when that cold air comes in. So it's going to be hard to say what ends up happening next, but it's going to be an interesting couple of days for a lot of regions across the south. So last thing to look at here will be the snowfall totals. And we'll go ahead and do our model comparison. Start out with the The euro. Wow, I cannot speak worth anything right now. But here's our pocket of snow that I was talking about. Could see up to about 4 to 6 inches. Some areas getting up to about 8. This is across a little swath between not Kansas, but Missouri, Iowa, southern Wisconsin, and maybe sneaking into the UP here, and then across then just south of the UP here towards the peninsula. Maybe we could see another pocket here of maybe 6 inches or more. Other than that, it's a pretty small area where we could see a snowstorm develop. Other than that, most of the snow is going to be mainly, I would say, on the Rockies or just to the west of it. A couple areas to the east could see some snow. It's about an inch, maybe 2 inches in some spots, but it's going to remain relatively light over here. If you're looking more so towards the southeast, I wouldn't be expecting much, or the southern plains. You might see a small pocket that gets about an inch of snow, whether you're in Oklahoma City or in Arkansas. Beyond that, not too much going there. Same can be said over to the northeast. There's not really a whole lot to talk about until we get into Maine, where we have increased snowfall totals, especially as we get closer towards those mountains. If we compare it to the Canadian, it's a pretty similar look. Actually, a little less aggressive, which is shocking considering what I've seen from the Canadian this year. GFS has a similar look, and really all the models are in pretty good agreement with this. So those are the main things that we're going to be looking out for. It's a few marginal risk of severe weather. Also can't rule out the threat of flash flooding across the southeast. And then, of course, we'll have to talk about the cold, especially as we look towards the central part of the U.S. But that's it for this video. Sorry I couldn't live stream tonight, you guys. I was really wanting to, but just didn't align. Hopefully soon we might have another opportunity. Then again, I kind of don't want one because, that means there's some pretty bad weather going on. But that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you did, definitely drop me a like. I always appreciate that. If you haven't, double click the like and subscribe button for me. Well, double click, which means like and subscribe. Don't double click the subscribe button because then, that's pretty useless. But that being said, this has been Tyler Metalhead Weatherman. I've been rambling too much. I'm tired. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Till then, take care and good night.